Hey guys, Marshall Mathers the Fourth here, back to you today with another video. And in today's video, this will just simply be a part 2 or follow-up to my previous video of proving that there are no jobs in the area that I live. And so I'm going to go a different direction or different way, in other words, than the way I went yesterday. And the way I went yesterday, I'm walking to the end of my driveway, my parents' driveway, and that is the way I went yesterday or the other day. So today I'm going to go that way, and there's like a little hill that goes up that way that I'm going to walk up to show you guys that there's no jobs that way either. So I'm gonna walk up this way and just prove to all of you and show you all for a fact that there are no jobs, at least not within walking or even biking distance for that matter, even up this way. And I'm going to try to walk as far as I can this way as I did yesterday the other way. But just keep in mind that this is a different way than the way I walked the other day, or yesterday in other words. See, as you can all tell, we live literally in the middle of nowhere. My parents, and specifically my dad, he chose to live here. This was his decision. This was his choice. He's the one who picked the area he did. And I mean, my mom liked it, but it's not like my mom even cared that much actually where we all would have lived. See, it's just country farmland for miles, literally. I mean, I just hope you all can see this. I hope you're all seeing this, and it's not like it's not beautiful. I mean, whatever it is, I mean, farmland can be beautiful, especially to people who prefer this kind of scenery or like it anyways. But I mean, if you're not a fan of this, and if you don't prefer this, if you don't like this kind of environment or lifestyle, if you will, then you won't like it. And I mean, it's not like I hate the scenery of the country. I don't. I think it's beautiful, and I definitely do think and know that living in the country does have its benefits. I mean, there are always pros and cons regardless of where you choose to live. Whether you choose to live in a city, the country, or a small, medium-sized town, every place has its pros and cons. But when it comes to it, I would say, at least from my own personal point of view, there are way more cons to living in the country than compared to a city, or even a small, medium-sized town for that matter. Because even in small or medium-sized towns, there's at least some job opportunities there. There's at least some community. there's at least some excitement or something going on there. And of course, like, in my opinion, I think city life, city culture, city environment is the best. But honestly, there's a part of me that doesn't even want to live in the city anymore, because I can recognize the fact how much pain, torment, and torture, agony, crippling depression, stress, misery, hell, even suicidal thoughts, if I'm going to be completely honest here, that even just cities existing by themselves put onto me. I mean, honest to God, I am not bullshitting. I am not kidding any of you at all. Like, I am dead ass serious that cities in America, regardless of what city it is, what state it's in, any city, and of course, when I say city, cities are big. Cities are not towns, whether small or medium-sized towns. Cities are called cities for a reason. They're big. I mean, even just thinking of the word city myself just honestly makes me think of something massive, huge, big, monstrous. It makes me think of some really like advanced, man-made, industrialized civilization, which it obviously is. And I myself personally never got the chance, opportunity, privilege, experience, or whatever of ever being raised in a city compared to most of the people who have. I never will know what that's like. And even if I do move to this city, which I'm telling you all right now, I highly doubt I ever will be able to. And I mean, just looking at my life situation or my life's circumstance or whatever, I think it's safe to say that I'll probably never move to this city. And like, you tell me, why would I, in my right state of mind, even want to move to any city in any state, even if I could, right now, if I had the resources, money, whatever? Why in my right mind would I want to move to the city when cities existing not only caused me so much suffering, but also on top of that, why would I want to live in a place that most minorities, blacks, Mexicans, Asians, Muslims, Indians, and a shit ton of white people got to live in and got to be raised in themselves since they were little kids and teenagers growing up? An experience that I myself was robbed of ever having, that I was excluded of, left out of, missed out on. I mean, that's the way I honestly feel. I mean, call me whatever you want, but that's literally how I feel. I feel like I've been robbed of a very wonderful, amazing, awesome, incredible, fun, exciting experience. And, you know, it's not like everyone who is raised in a city probably has that good of an experience being raised in a city, but there's always a guarantee that, or at least always a chance that people would, regardless of who they are, what their race or skin color is. Everyone at least has as much of a chance of having either a good, great, or at least decent experience in the city of being raised in there since they're pretty much a baby. And, you know, same could be said about the topic of diversity. Like, not everyone who has experienced diversity, who has been lucky, blessed, fortunate, privileged, and spoiled enough of being able to experience something so popular and overrated, so common, that is, if you're either raised in a city or you at least live in like a southern state. Even if you were raised in a small, medium-sized town, at least southern states have a lot of black Americans in like southern states, even in small, medium-sized towns. But if you go to any like northern states, there's pretty much no black Americans that you'll ever see unless you go to the city. I mean, let's just say like you are a white person, for example, and you happen to be someone who was raised in a city, and a city will maybe, just for an example, have 60% white people, maybe. I'm just guessing here, and then like 30% black, or at least 30% of the population will be a mixture of black Americans, Asian Americans, Mexican Americans, Muslim Americans, and Indian Americans, or Native Americans, or whatever. Like, it's just kind of a big mixing pot if you think about it. And sadly and unfortunately, the only people who really get to experience such a very extreme, severe, like large amount of diversity are those who got to be raised in cities, an experience that I myself never had. And it honestly pisses me the fuck off that I never got to. It frustrates me. It really does make me so angry, and I cannot help but lash out at people whenever, whether they're black, white, Mexican, Asian, whatever their race is or skin color is. If anyone admits to me ever that they got the experience or they had the experience of being raised in any city, especially like popular ones like LA or New York or Chicago or whatever, or Atlanta or something, or Texas or Florida, or it enrages me. It honestly pisses me the fuck off, and it makes me just become so hostile and bitter and just vengeful towards these people that just leads me to start raging at them and lashing out at them. Verbally, of course. Like, I don't try to threaten people, since that's of course illegal and a crime, but I can't help myself from lashing out at people who have had privileges and experiences that I myself never had, and that I think is honestly really unfair. I just honestly don't think it's right that I never got the same privileges and experiences that it seems like most people have got compared to me. I don't know, like, it irritates me. It really does. It tortures and torments me so much. And if there's one thing that really probably causes me to have the most anger, frustration, rage, hatred, anger, jealousy, and envy, probably even more than kids and teenagers who grew up having certain materialistic things that I never had myself, is when a white person ever makes the grave mistake of ever admitting anytime, anywhere, any place to me or to other people that they had black friends growing up since they were kids or since they were teenagers, or lived in an area or whatever where there were a lot of black Americans to begin with, or a lot of minorities and immigrants in general. And I just really envy and am so strongly jealous of white people who got to experience such an amount of diversity since they were little kids and teenagers. Because, you know, one thing that is so great about kids is that they don't think about race, nor do they ever think about skin color, honestly. At least, not most of them anyways. I personally have never heard of a kid anywhere who ever thinks about or ever obsesses over or is fixated on race or on skin color or something. I mean, the only time a kid will even maybe think of something like that is when, like, fucking bullshit, like mainstream media news reporters come to like a little kid's elementary school or middle school or some shit, and they ask these kids, like, say they ask a white kid, what do you think about your black friends and your Mexican friends and your Indian friends and your Asian friends and your Muslim friends or whatever? Like, as a white kid, they'll probably think to themselves, why are you calling them that or labeling them that? Because they're just simply my friends. I don't think about race, or I don't think about skin color. I just think of themselves as someone like me. I look past skin color. I look past race, because on the inside we're all the same. And kids, honestly, are just all around much better than teenagers, and especially adults. Because teenagers and adults clearly and obviously obsess over race or skin color, or they're so fixated on it or addicted to it. They can't stop talking about it. I mean, they always bring race or skin color or whatever into like so many of their conversations or whatever that they talk about. Anytime, anywhere, any place. And it gets old, it gets annoying. And I do the same thing. But it's understandable that someone like me would be so obsessed and fixated over race and skin color myself, because I never got to experience diversity growing up since I was a little kid, which literally and honest to God would have been the best possible time for me to have experienced that, like other white people who have. Because, I mean, let's face it, white kids who get to experience a shit ton of diversity since elementary school, since middle school, and so on and so forth, they're going to get used to having and being around and being surrounded by different kids from other races and other cultures or whatever. But, you know, as kids, again, they're not going to think about skin color. They're not going to think about race at all, probably ever, unless adults or teenagers talk to them about it, or even their parents or whatever, or news reporters from the mainstream media if they come to their school and talk to the kids about it. But just alone by themselves, they're not going to think about that. And you know, white kids, or any race of kids for that matter, who get to experience a lot of diversity growing up, are going to get used to having friends or making friends with students from other races and other cultures, other backgrounds, and so on and so forth. I mean, they just are. And whereas someone like me is so obsessed and fixated over race and skin color, I'm so addicted to it. I can't stop thinking about it and talking about it and getting all pissed off about it because I never got to experience diversity growing up as a kid and teenager to where I would have got used to it and it would have been normal to me if I would have gotten experience that most other kids got themselves. That would have only been right and fair that I got to myself. But sadly I didn't. And you know, the only reason why most people aren't obsessed with race or skin color, or not fixated on it, or not addicted to it like I am myself, and like liberals in the mainstream media and in Hollywood are themselves, is because most people got to experience diversity growing up since they were kids, since they were teenagers, to the point that they got used to it, that it just became normal to them. And so they didn't think about their friends from other races or cultures or whatever who have different skin colors as like different races of people. They all, kids, think of themselves and their friends as just all the same, all equal. I mean, literally, no shit. And I'm just trying to make a point here, and I know I'm taking a long time to get my point across, but I also want to say that, as you can all see, there are no fast food restaurants, no grocery stores, no electronic stores, no gas stations even, no factories of any sort or kind anywhere near where my family and I live, in the exact specific area and location that we live. There's nothing for miles except country, and that's it. Farmland, miles and miles and miles and miles and miles of country land, or farmland in other words. There are no fast food restaurants, no grocery stores, no factories, no electronic stores, no video game stores, and not even a single factory anywhere near where we live. And so I'm literally stuck in a rut. I'm practically trapped. I feel as if, emotionally and mentally speaking, that I am being suffocated, that I am trapped, that I'm stuck, that I'm imprisoned. And I find it absolutely hypocritical that so many people, for the past year, since 2019, since my parents and family and I moved here in like March of 2019, when I was 22 myself, that they harangue me to get a job, knowing that, at least myself, that there's nothing out here for me to do, nothing available. There's no businesses. There are no grocery stores, no fast food restaurants, no electronic stores, no video game stores, no factories, and not even a single gas station within miles of where my family and I live. There's nothing, absolutely, positively nothing out here of that sort or kind. And it annoys the shit out of me. I'm gonna be very honest here. It annoys the fucking shit out of me when so many people have been telling me to get a job for years. And I know I should have gotten a job back when my family and I still lived in Greenville, but I didn't. And I definitely regret that so much, more than any of you could possibly imagine or believe. But also, I am paying the ultimate price for it emotionally and mentally. Like, believe it or not, but I am. I'm crushed to my core. I'm brokenhearted. I'm so pissed off at myself. And I beat myself up over the fact I didn't get a job years ago, ages ago, when I was younger and still in my teens, when we lived in the town of Greenville, when I should have. I mean, honestly, it would have been very smart and wise of me to have gotten a job then, because maybe I would have actually got a job, been able to save up money, been able to buy my own food, buy my own car or vehicle, pay for my own driver's training, and save up to eventually move out of my parents' home and maybe to a city, still fairly young. But no, I didn't, because I just wasted so many years of my life not doing jack shit, because I suffered so much in high school. And I know none of you can really understand that. I get that. And I don't blame any of you, and I'm not honestly that mad at any of you for not really getting where I'm coming from, because you have not walked a mile in my shoes. You haven't lived through what I have lived through myself. You haven't been born and raised in the family that I was, or had the parents growing up that I did myself. My life was hell on earth emotionally and mentally since I was 15. The year and age that I first went to 9th grade, and I dropped out in the following year in 2013, and I suffered so much to the point in high school where I literally did not want to do anything with my life. I mean, I became so broken and damaged, so shattered, so torn apart emotionally and mentally because of going to high school, even though I didn't even go for a year, a school year. I dropped out in April of 2013 at the age of 16. I started in September of 2012 at the age of 15, and I went to April of 2013. So I dropped out in the day right before spring break of 2013. And I became so broken, so damaged, so shattered emotionally and mentally, so torn apart to the point where I, honest to God, did not want to do anything with my life at all. I just wanted to waste away. I just wanted to crawl into a hole and die. Wanted to crawl into a hole and cry myself to sleep every single day. I mean, that's just literally and honestly how I felt. I'm being serious with all of you right now, and I'm being as real as I can possibly be. And I also didn't really understand the importance of me getting a job in my teens ever since I was 15, 16, 17. Like, I didn't really have an understanding of how important that it actually was that I gotten a job, and that I would have at least been independent from my parents in some ways, in the way where I could have paid for my own food, which I would have felt really good about. That I could have paid for my driver's training and driver's license, and I could have possibly paid for my own vehicle, and of course I would have bought a used one, because there's no way in hell on a stupid bitch-ass minimum wage job, I would have ever been able to afford a nice new car. Even though I would like one, it's not like I'll probably ever be able to afford one because I'm not rich. And someone like me, even if I would have gotten a job in my teens, I would have only had a lame-ass, pathetic minimum wage job. That would have been the closest thing I would have ever had myself to making any amount of money at all, any amount of income myself. And I mean, I honestly just feel so terrible. I feel just awful. I feel like the worst human to have ever existed on the face of this planet, that I didn't do a lot more that I should have in my teens, that I literally wasted. I honestly wasted away so many years in my teens doing nothing except playing stupid app games on my tablet that got broke many years ago by one of my younger brothers because I beat up my youngest brother because they were talking with each other when I was trying to sleep in because I would stay up so damn late in my teens. I mean, sometimes honestly until 6 in the fucking morning, or 4 a.m., 3 a.m., 2 a.m., 6 a.m., 5 a.m., crazy early. So I would want to sleep in as late as possible. And they were talking one morning, and it pissed me off many years ago when I was 17 in 2014. So I tried to beat up my youngest brother. I didn't really do it, but I also tried breaking one of his electronic toothbrushes. So my other younger brother, not my youngest, but my other younger brother, threw away my tablet, the best electronic I ever had, which was a Kindle Fire HDX 8.9-inch 64 gigabyte that my dad had bought for my 17th birthday in 2014. And even before then, at age 15 and 16, for a little bit, I had a Kindle Fire HD 16 gigabyte that my mom also threw away because my dad got pissed off at me because I dropped out of high school and I wasn't even doing homeschooling and I didn't get a job. So my mom chose to throw away my Kindle Fire HD 16 gigabyte. But that was back when I was 16 in 2013 years ago, and I forgive my mom for that. And it's not like I bought those things anyway. I didn't deserve them in the first place. Not even kidding. I didn't deserve shit that my parents bought for me, and it's not like those were things I even really wanted that much. I had to settle for shitty electronics because my dad never wanted to buy me any gaming consoles or video games. And it's not like my mom could have been able to because she never had a job herself. I mean, she honestly didn't have a job since she got married to my dad in 1992, and since she started having kids since 1993. For the past 27 years, my mom has not had a job or worked, so even she had to be dependent on my dad, her husband, to provide her with grocery money for herself and their kids and whatnot. And I hate the fact that even when my siblings and I started growing up, that my mom still never got a job herself to make our income bigger to help my dad out too. But also, when we were even still kids, a lot of us were able to take care of ourselves by then, but she still didn't, and it would have just made it so much easier on my dad, but she never did. And she just had way too many kids. I mean, 8 kids in all with my dad. That's a shit ton. I'm sorry, but that is way too many. Way too many kids to provide for. And financially, literally. And not just like financially, but emotionally and mentally. Having 8 kids, I mean, even having like 3 kids is kind of emotionally, mentally draining, because after all, there's only 2 parents. I mean, why would you have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or even more kids when there are only 2 damn parents? I mean, with 2 parents, just have 2 kids. I mean, obviously, you can have as many as you want. If you have the kind of money and income to afford having a certain amount of kids, go ahead, be my guest. And if you know exactly how to raise a lot of kids and you're like really good at it as a father and mother, then go right ahead. But I mean, most parents can't do it. And it's funny to realize that most parents who even have a lot of kids are poor parents. And I'm sorry, but my dad making $80 an hour, 85, 90, 95 maybe at the most an hour that he has been for the past 18 years, but his job turned to absolute shit because of the liberals taking over and the goddamn bureaucrats at his work, like, just throwing him under the fucking bus because he's not complying with all the new age bullshit rules. And he may even get fired soon. Like, it's just a weird, messed up fucking time we live in. And I mean, it pains me that I never got a job myself when I was younger, and now I'm paying the ultimate price because I'm like literally stuck and trapped in the fucking country, slowly becoming a fucking hillbilly or fucking country bumpkin, country damn hick, my worst nightmare. And obviously I'm probably not going to become that, but I mean, let's face it, someone like me would never make it in this city because I'm just too weak emotionally and mentally, and my belief systems are so fucking whacked and messed up. The city environment and culture would chew me up and spit me out. I mean, I'm gonna be real here, but anyway, let me know what you all think in the comment section down below. I'm out.